Today I want to talk about the movie Back to the Future Part 3. This is my second favorite of the trilogy. The first one is obviously my favorite, and then the second one is my least favorite. But Part 3 I always really liked. I'm not a huge Western guy, but for some reason the setting in the Old West seems cool to me. Like in the first movie, Doc said, maybe I'll go check out the Old West. And then in the third movie, when he reads the paper, he's like, look at me, I do retire out in the Old West. You know, or whatever he says. But it was definitely cool to see it in that way. I like the way that they've structured the time periods all around the same town. You know, I like that in the third movie, based 100 or so years ago, that's when they built the clock tower. I like how all the elements in all the movies were still important. And in the third one especially, I liked seeing like the names of all the different jobs and the signs out on the street. It was like the same names of all the people from the 50s and from the 80s. The filmmakers for the Back to the Future movies did such a good job paying attention to those little details like that. It was the same name of the manure company from the 1800s as it was in the 50s. You know what I'm saying? Like they were so smart to not only make sure they were keeping track of all the connections within each individual movie, but they were making sure that they were making and keeping the connections between all three of the movies. Like I said, this series, this trilogy is perfect. It is so well done as a whole. The third one in particular, when I worked on cruise ships, I had a tablet and I had like a mini SD card and I had like 60 gigs worth of movies. And I remember Back to the Future Part 3 was one of the movies I had on the hard drive or the SD card. And I would turn the movie on with my earbuds in and I'd fall asleep to it like every single night on the cruise ship. It was calming, I guess. You know, it was so enjoyable just to listen to and fall asleep to. Maybe that's why I like this movie a lot more than the second one, just because I've listened to it hundreds of times while I was sleeping. This tape's supposed to listen to when you're sleeping, that like they hypnotize you or whatever, like to quit smoking or whatever. Maybe that's like what this movie did for me. I listened to it every single night for like 6 months. And so now it's like ingrained in my brain that it's a great movie. You know what I mean? I really have nothing negative to say about Part 3. The trilogy as a whole, it's so good. If you haven't seen these movies, what have you been doing with your life? Go watch them. They're awesome.